button and share my screen with you guys again. Okay, should be able to see my screen right about now. Okay, yes, so the question was, sir, where do we find the folio number? So folio number, so remember, when it comes to your folio, and I think, let me do this, let me display here. Okay, all along, whenever we've been doing folio, we would say, okay, this is from the cash receipts journal, or we'd say it's from the debtors journal, or we'd say it's from the the creditors allowance journal. And in this case, we're saying it's from the salaries journal. So that's why we have SJ. Now, the number that then follows should be representative of the month that we are doing this for. So here you can see we're doing this for the month of May. All right. So May, we know it's the 5th month. So January, February, March, April, May. Okay. So this should be then 5. But for some reason, I see in your textbooks, they put 4. Okay. So that's why I'm just saying, okay, I'm just leaving it out. Okay. And when I look at your example as well, I see they've put SJ11. Okay. So in my mind, I think maybe the reason why they're doing that is because maybe they're referring to the employer is salary journal 11. Maybe that's why they're doing that. But for me, still, I don't think that to be the way they should do it. But what I can tell you is that if you guys just put the right for instance, cash receipts journal, SJ, your debtors journal, you would still get your mark. I'd still give you your mark. So don't worry about it. Just make sure that you've got in your folio, you've inserted the right document, or should I say book of entry, where this thing is coming from, and then you'll get your mark. Bahati, I hope I've answered your question. Please just give me a thumbs up if I have indeed answered your question. All right, awesome stuff. Okay, cool. So then let's proceed with our exercise over here. Let's proceed with our exercise over here. So we finished with medical aid. We then want to go to pension fund. Okay, so for the pension fund, we know that we were contributing to this man's pension, and we know that we were also deducted something off of his salary. Okay, so let's quickly see. How much did we deduct off of his salary for his pension? It was let's see. Okay, it was 3,280. 3,280. Okay, cool. Then we also know that there was a contribution from us. So can you see again, all we write, can you see whenever we have a contribution, we write what is the contribution, and then we write contribution. All right, so here it's pension. Oh my goodness. Just write pension contribution or pension fund contribution. It's fine, but I'm sure the full thing take up quite a bit. And here we write SJ. Okay. Then we know it's rand for rand. So we plug that in there, and there you go. Okay. Move on to the next one. We have staff social fund. Okay. And here again, we're writing salary expense. Okay. and that was for 65 Rand. Okay. Okay, so this time I just left folio in there just to save us a minute or two. But yeah, guys, I won't talk about the folio any further. I think I've spoken enough about that. Salaries expense there. Then here we are going to write gross. As you can see in the example there, salary, gross salary. So how much did he get for gross salary? I believe it was 30,000 something, 30,325. Okay. And then we're done. Can you see here, salaries expense? All right. All right. We are going to need to pay this over. Okay. This, remember, we're paying our employee this. Okay. So that's why we're debiting it. All these amounts that we had here, these were amounts that were owed to these staff social fund, and it was coming from a deduction from him. Can you see here? Again, your pension fund. We are owing this contribution. We haven't yet paid it out. We're only going to pay it out at the end of the month. Well, his deduction, again, it's only going to be paid out at the end of the month. All right, that's why we're crediting these. Okay, this WMC, it's a creditor to us. That's why we're crediting this. Okay, it's a deduction again. Can you see? Again, we're crediting all these amounts because they're not being paid immediately. They're being paid only at the end of the month. Okay, creditors for salary, same principle. Okay, right. Okay, here we know it's an expense that we are going to pay. Okay, so we plug that in there. Okay, all right, it's an expense to us as well. Expense to us. Okay, then here UIF contribution. Okay, so here what do we write? Let's see in the example. I hope your example is open in front of you. I want you guys to be able to practice these. So here you can see now the double entry taking place. Here we're writing EMP201 control. Can you see that double entry? Where did we have this UIF? In the EMP201 control account. Okay, can you see that double entry? All right. And that was for, I believe it was 268, I think it was 268. Let's see. You know, 149 for UIF, 149. Okay. SDL, that's 268. Okay. And that also same thing that we're plugging in there, EMP201. Okay. 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 And this pension fund was the 3,280. Okay, done. Okay, we are done. Can you see that? All right, so that's activity 8.4 or question 8.4. Okay, this is now posting what we had in the salaries journal to the general ledger. Okay, all right, so that is your question 8.4. Now we have to move to your question 8.3. Sorry, 8.5. 8.5. Guys, does anyone have any questions? If you have any questions, please do feel free to throw them in the chat or switch on your mic even better. All right, because then I'll catch them that way. Okay, so I want us to move on to 8.5. Okay, I want us to move on to 8.5. 8.5. Okay. In 8.5, let's flip through. Okay, before we go to 8.5, again, I'd like us to just quickly look at the process, just to show us where we are in the process. So I'm flipping back to the process there for your recording salaries in a business. Okay, so we've completed the salaries journal. We posted the salaries journal to the general ledger. That's what we've just done. Now we're making payments and recording them in the cash book payments. Okay, so Where are we? What exactly is going on? What's happening is, remember I said we're recording these things. We can record these things anytime during the course of the month, but we know we're only going to pay them at the end of the month. So if we're now making payments, it means we're now at the end of the month, okay? We're now at the end of the month. So what do we need to do here? We need to make payments to all of the people, like for instance, your pension fund, your medical aid. We also need to pay this individual their salary, okay? So that's why we're in the cash payments journal, okay? Because money is now leaving us to pay these different institutions and this employee, okay? So let's then do that, okay? So first things first, let's read what they're saying there in 8.5. And again, you can make reference, you can use example 8.5 as a reference to what you need to do in question 8.5. So it says, make all outstanding payments from question 8.4 on the last day of the month, all right? It says, post the transactions to the general ledger. So first, we're starting in the journal where the payments are being made, and then we have to post those payments to the general ledger. All right, awesome, no problems. Okay, so first things first, we need to pay Damien. Okay, all right, and we know that his salary is how much? I think it was 19,000 something. I think it was 19,000 something. Let me quickly check here. Yep, 19,868. Okay, that's how much went off on our bank. And can you see we're not calculating input VAT? Why? Because we know that salaries and wages are exempt. Okay, so immediately we go to Sundry. Now just kept this in there just to save us some time. And in Sundry, plug in that 19,868. And then can you see here the contra account creditors for salaries? Okay, right. That's the other account that's affected here. So bank is affected because money is leaving us, and then creditors for salaries. Okay, awesome. Move on to the next one. Okay. Again, we know that we had the EMP 201. Okay. And here, who does this get paid to? This gets paid to SARS. Remember, I told you SARS, we send the EMP 201 to SARS. So here you're going to write SARS, and it's the total. This total is making up your PAYE, your UIF contribution, and your UIF deduction, and then finally your SDL contribution. Okay? So this is that 5229 amount. Okay? Again, because this is part of a person's salary, there's nothing for VAT, okay? So for all of them, okay? Just so you are aware. Then here, we know that the person we're transacting with or the institution we're transacting with is WMC, medical aid, okay? I'm writing the full thing because I know I have space. If you don't have space, just abbreviate, but abbreviate in such a way that I know what you are obviously writing, okay? So can you see this part is easy. It's just duplicating the information into the right places. Then here, future, sorry, pension fund. That's who we're transacting with, okay? And that we know we are plugging in the amount that is both the contribution and his deduction, okay? 560. Guys, I promise you, if you practice this thing, this is 30 marks in the bag, 25 marks in the bag, okay? Then here, staff social fund, okay? And that's at 65 Rand. Can you see that? We didn't calculate VAT for any of these things because all of these pertain to salaries and wages. Okay, you can see it's the exact same amount under sundry, all right, and there you can see the accounts that were affected. Okay, so we've done that. This is now all you need to do in terms of the journal. The only journal that is affected, because it's money leaving us. So it's the cash payments journal that's affected. Now what we need to do is to post these amounts to the general ledger. Okay, so we're going to the creditors for salaries account, and we're saying here, all right, this amount has been paid. So here we go, bank, okay? And here, what do we write? CPJ, okay? And then here, what do we write? The amount that we actually paid out, which is this exact same amount here. Remember, I told you that we owe it, and only at the end of the month do we pay it out. Can you see that? Bank, that's what money leaving us. CPJ, where we initially got this transaction recorded, all right? Point of first entry, and then the amount right there. Okay, I heard something in the chat. Let me attend to that before we proceed. Why are we debiting bank? Okay. So brilliant question, Etienne. Okay. Well, I see there's a question here before I get to that one. When we total the CPJ, all right, should it be equal to the gross salary? So let's see. Yes, it should, because all of these things are going to add up to your gross salary. Yes, so I would imagine so. Okay. Does not equal it though. Okay. Oh, here's the reason why it shouldn't. Actually, it shouldn't. Let me tell you why. Remember, we have contributions. So, instance, for the pension fund, we contributed to the pension fund. All right. And then also, can you see SARS for the UIF? We also contributed to the person's UIF. So can you see the gross salary is the what we are going to pay in terms of his salary, his net salary, and then all the deductions. That's what your gross salary is going to be equal to. So if you add up all of these, you find that it's also including the contributions we've made, and that's why it doesn't equal the same. So good question. You made me have to think about that. All right. All right. So that's the answer to your first question there, Etienne. All right. Then second question, why are we debiting bank? Okay, so I know what you're thinking here. When we debit bank, it increases our bank, right? And here we're actually losing money. But let's take a closer look at what we're actually doing. All right. Can you see that here we are in the creditors for salaries account? Can you see that? We're not actually in the bank account. All right. And remember, this is a liability to us. So we're saying that this liability is actually decreasing because we just debited this creditors account. Now, I don't know if I have the bank account here. All right, I don't have the bank account here. But if we were to complete the actual double entry, this is what it would look like. So that's a brilliant question. I don't believe I've had a student ask that question before, but it's very relevant. Why is this thing not obeying me? I'm trying to extend this here, but it won't allow. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to show you, maybe let me just draw it. But it won't come out so neat. Okay, I'm trying to show you, I'm trying to do the bank T account, okay, to show you the double entry. And I'm sure by now you've already put it together, all right? Because remember, in that account, we were in the creditors for salaries account. Okay, so here's bank. Okay, there's your bank. All right, and we know that bank increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. So can you see here, we wrote, we debited the creditors for salaries. So here, what are we going to do? We're going to have to credit it by that amount. I'm just going to put X. Okay, all right. So you'll see that we're debiting all these other accounts, but in the bank, we're actually crediting it. I hope that answers your question. So we are still actually decreasing the bank, which I'm sure, as we have learned up until this point, is exactly what we should be doing since we are losing money. I hope that answers your question, Etienne. Okay, all right, awesome stuff. Right, great questions, guys, great questions. Okay, so now we come here, we go to the EMP. Oh, I'm still drawing, guys, I'm still drawing. Okay, we come to the EMP21 again. It's just bank that we plug in here. Again, it's just CPJ. Okay, so this is the easy bit. This is the easy bit. 229. Can you see it's the total? And can you see this is the total of all these amounts here? Remember, I told you that in the cash payments journal, it's the total of your UIF, your PAYE, your contributions, UIF contribution, SDL contribution. Okay. Then we come here, same thing, bank. Ooh, sorry. Okay, cash payments journal, and then 2,300. Okay, just be aware, if we made a contribution to his medical aid, this amount would have been greater. We would have plugged it in here. We would have said medical aid contribution, all right, and we would have put the total here as well for bank for that. Okay, like we are about to do here in the pension fund. Okay, so here again, bank. All right, CPJ. All right, and then obviously 6,560. Done. Okay. Okay. Then here again, bank CPJ, and then 65 Rand. Okay. And can you see? Can you believe it? We are done. Okay. So actually, they actually should have made us do the bank as well so that we can see the full double entry of what we have actually done. That would have been great. But oh well, I see this is what your answer booklet actually looks like. So that's fine. All right, as long as we know what we are actually doing. So guys, again, the general ledger is where my students seem to struggle. And where they're struggling is that they're not debiting the correct, sorry, they're not crediting the correct accounts here. Okay, and sometimes they mix it up and they end up debiting the EMP 201. Remember, this is a creditor. We owe this person. We're only going to pay them at the end of the month. Okay, same principle with the rest of these guys over here. Okay, so if you can get this bit right, I promise you, there's a good chance that you'll totalize your marks on this particular question. So that is question 8.5. Okay. Now, the last one that I want us to do is actually, I'm actually just going to show it to you rather than actually do it with you because I don't want to exhaust your minds. But I want to show you that the principle is the same. Okay? I want to do that with you. Okay, so this came out pretty ugly. Please tell me it's still loading. Okay, it's not. Okay, it is. Hallelujah. Because that looked bad. Okay, so now with this, all that I wanted to show you is this time we're in the wages journal. Can you see this? Can you see what they write here? It's the wages journal. I'm just going to highlight that in green. Okay, wages journal. But it's the same thing, guys. Salaries journal, wages journal, it's the same thing. The only difference, can you see here we have normal hours, here we have overtime, then we have our gross wage. Okay, so the titles, but much like I told you in the salaries journal, not every company is going to have the same titles. Okay, not every company is going to have the same titles. So, see here, we didn't have a staff social fund. So don't get attached to, oh, where's this, where's that? Not every company is going to have the exact same titles, okay? So here you have your normal time, your overtime, your gross wages, all right, your PAYE, UIF, pension fund, all right, total deductions, and then we get to our net wage, all right? There we had net salary, now it's net wage. Then we have our employer contributions. Can you see? Structure is the same, all right? And so forth, okay? Right. So again, here you just need to understand English. When it comes to wages and salaries journal, you just need to understand English, all right? You need to know, okay, cool, this person's salary, is it greater than the UIF threshold? If so, we know that we need to limit it to 14,872, okay? If it is less than, we know that we can then just use that salary amount as the UIF remuneration, okay? What else? Yeah, so that's pretty much it. The other thing you need to pay attention to is your pension fund. Did they say anything particular here with the pension fund? It says her employer contributes 1 Rand 50 for every Rand. So can you see? She's contributed how much to the pension fund? 630. So then we have to say 630 times 1.5 and not times 1. And can you see then, if you calculate it, you're going to get this 946. So this is a nice employer. They actually contribute more than you contribute towards your pension. Okay? I'm trying to see if there's anything else there worth mentioning. Can you see there they gave you an SDL remuneration? All right. So be on the lookout for that. If they don't give you an SDL remuneration, then obviously you use the salary as the SDL remuneration. Okay. So that's fine. Okay. Here they didn't give you your all right. So that's fine. Okay. Right. I don't know if you guys have any questions there, but you can see it's pretty much the same thing we did. Sir, for overtime, do we ever have to state their overtime rates in the journal? No, in your journal, it'll literally just be they want the amount. Obviously, I would like to see your calculations of how you got your overtime, because remember, just in case you give me the wrong overtime, at least I can look at how did you calculate this thing, and hopefully, there's some method marks that I can give you. So for the sake of ensuring that you at least score some marks there, please show me your method marks. But in the journal, no. Chances are they won't ask. I've never seen a question where they've maybe slotted in a rates column there in between normal and overtime. I've never seen something like that. So I would not imagine them to ever ask that. Okay. Right. Someone else is asking something as well. Do we look at the gross salary or the net salary or wage to determine the UIF? So again, Etienne, we look in the question for if they give us what the UIF should be. All right. I've seen that. Where's the UIF examples that they've given? Where's the UIF? If you look at question 8.2, yeah, so as I said, I've never seen them ask it, all right? So if they do, if that's what happens in your mom's books, that's perfectly fine, but I've never seen them ask it in your question. So if they do slot it in, then yeah, but it shouldn't give you any headaches if they do slot that in. But yeah, I've never seen them do that. Okay, just to answer your question, I think, is it Etienne? Yes. So there, if you look at question 8.2, they say Mercia's earnings 9,500 per month, whereas Dieteta earnings is 22,000 per month. So I would imagine that when they do calculate your UIF, it should be on gross because they're saying earnings. They're not saying net salary or net wages. Okay, so that's if they do not give you your UIF remuneration. I would go with gross. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, awesome stuff, awesome stuff. So cool. We're happy with question 8.7. Now I just want to take us to 8.6. We're happy with 8.6. I want to take us to 8.7. 8.7. Let's allow this thing to load and look nice. Come now, sometime today. Oh wow, guys, really? Okay, so I don't think this one is about to adjust. Okay, so my apologies about that. But here you can see if we look at question 8.7, it's the same thing. The only thing that they do, and you'll see that in example 8.7 as well. The only thing that they do is that you have a balance. Ah, it has finally come together. You have a balance in your question 8.7. You have a balance. So here they've given us a balance. Not in creditors for wages because that gets paid out every week. But if you look at your EMP 201, you have a balance of 10,000. Okay. And if you look at your pension fund, we also have a balance. All right. And they give that to us at the beginning of the question. The amounts given are for illustration purposes only. All right. Post the wages journal from question 8.6 to the general ledger. Use the following opening totals or balances on 23 June, the end of the previous week. Okay, the end of the previous week. So these amounts, remember I told you, the only difference between the salaries journal and the wages journal is that in the wages journal, since we're paying out weekly, then we know that we have an opening balance for EMP 201, opening balance for your pension fund, because remember, these things still only get paid at the end of the month, okay? They only get paid at the end of the month, okay? But we're calculating them every single week. So there's more of a build-up. It's not just a once-off amount. Wages expense, all right? There's that total there. Okay, so here I think this was mistaken. This should be in one column over here, and somehow that amount also got pushed over there. It should be over here as well. All these things should be in this one column. Okay. And then obviously we have the UIF contribution. Okay, there's an opening balance as well over there. Only gets paid off at the end of the month. Okay, SDL, same thing, opening balance, pension fund. So that's the only difference that you'll see. Okay, I see there was something in the chat. So let me quickly, I will come to that. Maybe let me come to that before I switch over. For our exam, will this be a separate question or will all the journals be bunched together in one big question? So guys, remember you have limited time in your exam. So they can't ask you everything in one go. They would literally just ask you to either maybe do the salaries journal, all right? And then to do the general ledger, they could ask you to do one account in the general ledger. Okay, they like to ask you to do the EMP 201 control. Okay, they could ask you to do the pension fund account. Okay, so that's how they typically ask it, or they could only ask the general ledger. Okay, so brilliant question. It's a good question. But now, can you see? They will ask you in such a way that it becomes clear whether this person actually knows. Because for you to actually be able to make these payments, you need to know what is going on prior to doing this. Okay. So here in question 8.8, I'm just going to show you the answers. In question 8.8, if we flip there, you'll see they're saying use the information in question 8.7 record all the payments, record all the payments regarding wages at the end of the month in the cash book payments journal. All right. Note check CC03 was cashed for wages, and the rest of the payments were made by EFT. All right. Post the cash payments journal to the general ledger. Again, it's the same thing. All right. Let me try zoom up just a little bit. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So now we can see the whole thing. So again, we go to the cash payments journal, and can you see here? This was cash because it was withdrawn, but can you see all of this was EFT? So here they're just trying to throw in something a little bit different. Okay, but again, can you see there's no VAT on all these things? All right, and then everything else has been paid. It's just these other things. Okay, can you see we're treating it exactly the same? All right, remember this is for the 1 week, the last week of the month. Okay, but can you see all of those SDL things, the balance plus what was due for that 1 week, all right, is being paid out. It's exactly the same, all right. There we go. There we go. All right. Here, there was no medical aid, so it was literally just pension and the EMP 201 control. Okay. So again, the only difference between wages and salaries is you have an opening balance for everything except for your creditors for wages. Creditors for wages, you won't have an opening balance here. Why? Because every week we've been paying off whatever was due to this employee, or should I say this temporary staff member, because usually wages is for temporary employees and not for full-time staff. Okay, so that's literally it. That's your unit 8, guys. That's your unit 8. I don't know if there are any questions or thoughts. I've been loving the interaction today. Really appreciated it. Thank you to all of you. Okay, right. So guys, that is it from my side. I don't know if anybody has any last question. If not, just give me a thumbs up to know that you're good. And then I know Tabian, you want to catch up. So let's have